Live the best shows. Live the best music. Live without limits. Radio Unilatina.
The Entrepreneurial Hour is a weekly radio talk show hosted by Stephanie Cates and Robert Gultz that includes local South Florida business owners, subject matter experts, and industry leaders that recognize the need to share their knowledge with other businesses to help them start and grow their business. Join us Tuesday mornings, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, online at Radio Unilatina USA. Follow us on social media at #The Entrepreneurial Hour.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Cates. I am with Merchant Processing Solutions, and I'm also a professor here at Unilatina International College, Miramar, Florida. Today, I have a special guest co-host, Miss Chrissy Trotta from Synergy Insurance. Hello, Chrissy. How are you?
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
I'm excited about our speaker. We got to hear her on Friday, didn't we?
Absolutely. She's amazing.
Yes. And you know what I really liked about it is because she made me think about that leadership role that I have in many aspects of my life. And, you know, is it professional? Is it social? Is it matriarchal? Is it within your family? How do you know, what is a leader supposed to look like? What is a leadership role? And that's why I'm so excited that we had booked her today. So without further ado, let me, wait a minute. I do have to ask for one moment. At the beginning of the show, if you like our show, please know now that we have this is all live on YouTube. You can go to Unilatina International College channel and subscribe, and then you'll be able to keep all of of our podcasts and now live casts that are there. Our producer, Marcela Moyano, is so invested in making sure that everyone can reach the valuable tidbits and lessons that are given by our subject matter experts. So thank you, Marcela. And also wanted to remind everyone that a week from this Thursday, October 25th, is the Entrepreneurial Hour Conference. It is in the Miramar Cultural Center, 8:30 in the morning till 3:15 in the afternoon. We have phenomenal speakers. We have a panel that will talk about team building internally and externally. And then we have another panel of great people talking about networking or word of mouth marketing for small, medium, and large businesses. And these are two phenomenal panels. We also have some keynote speakers like Luis Capo from El Dorado. He's the owner. And we have Brian Jacob from Collective Ventures, a new idea in business co-ops. And so we're hoping to bring this. Oh, we also have the Congress, this councilwoman from Miramar. I'm sorry if I've missed her name.
Commissioner Riggs.
Commissioner Riggs, excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't have my information in front of me, but it's going to be we're providing breakfast, lunch, and the cocktail hour. And so it is go online to our Unilatina International College site, go to the International Hour Conference and sign up. It's $15 up to our VIP, which is $50. And that will include you being on the air, being able to advertise yourself everywhere. So please give us a call. We also have some sponsorship locations, tables available. So give us a call. Now, without further ado, Jane, please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit about yourself, please, and your business.
Good morning. I'm Jane Cabrera. My business is Jane Cabrera Coaching. I'm a life and business coach here in the area. And my background actually is I'm an accountant by background. I was a CPA for many years. And what I specialized in was corporate change management. And so corporate change management is basically companies that are going through large transitions. Sometimes that's restructuring. Sometimes that's buying a new company and integrating two companies together. Sometimes that's selling a company. And, in that role, change management it's transformation. And that's kind of how I focus now as a coach, is on helping people with transformation, with change that they want to make in order to achieve their goals.
I really wish my old company had spoken to you before they just decided to throw out the baby with the bathwater, which was like 700 of us older employees with the old company. And because they're struggling now, and it would have been nice had they consulted with somebody. And I'm not sure companies do that. So a great segue for us to understand what you do.
Yes. And you point to something that is really important. Like the market now, things have changed so much. So companies do go through these very dramatic changes now. And for employees especially, there's not loyalty that there used to be years ago.
Yeah.
Really, I think as individuals, we hold a much higher level of responsibility now for our own well-being, our own leadership, basically, in our own lives, taking control of our education, how we invest in ourselves. And because things are changing so constantly that we have to be able to adapt in a way that we never did before years ago. It's a much more rapid change now. And so adapting and keeping up with things is a much greater challenge than it was years ago.
And one more interjection I think that I'll say is that I would say 90s and early 2000 companies were very in tune with their intellectual capital. It was about who can we bring on board? What do they bring to the table? And we try to keep those people because they're adding value to what we have. Today, and I don't know why it changed, they're a dime a dozen. We don't need those people. They're older. They're going to retire in a few years. We don't need them. I think that there's just a depreciation of the human capital that, we'll just outsource to another country and get it cheaper. It has now become kind of like the dancer on the pole, come on over here. I got $1 for you. It's about the dollar, or it's about the money. And it's sad. And that's why the Entrepreneurial Hour recognizes that in this country, about 80% of all businesses are now small businesses, less than 50 employees or less. And these are the people that are struggling in order to survive year 1, 2. I mean, if they, only 20% make it to 5 years? This is sad. So leadership is a huge role in that. Now, Chrissy, I know you have a business, and you're the owner of the business. Would you like to ask Jane some questions about leadership? Because I'm sure that's of interest to you.
Hello. I'd like to ask you a question. Can you please explain what leadership is and means?
That's a big, broad question. What leadership is. For me, I think of leadership more on an individual basis. I think of leadership is like how we show up in the world, how we present ourselves, the attitudes that we bring to the table. And Chrissy and I were recently at a leadership retreat that was hosted by the chamber, and they did an exercise. It was a lot of fun, where they had us introduce ourselves by a cartoon character that most represented the leadership qualities that we bring to the table. And as funny as that is, I actually think that it points to what leadership really is. What are the qualities that you're bringing to the table that are the source of your leadership? And I don't remember what your cartoon character was.
Would you like to share, Chrissy?
I was Snoopy because I care and I wanted to help everybody out and I wanted to make a difference.
Yeah. See, now those right there,
okay.
that speaks to really important leadership qualities, the desire to make a difference, caring. You know, when a leader exudes these qualities, people receive that, people take note of that, and they want to those types of qualities. For me, when we first were asked the question, what immediately came to me was the brain from Pinky and the Brain, because I know I always have a lot of ideas. But as I thought about it further, I think I'm sort of a cross between the brain from Pinky and the Brain and SpongeBob SquarePants, because I think I bring a goofy optimism to pretty much everything I do. I think everything is wonderful and everyone can do what they set out to do. And I think that goofy optimism really works in my favor a lot.
Well, and that's very interesting. I didn't know they did that. I wasn't able to go, but I've been trying to think myself. The first one I wanted to be was like Wonder Woman or Supergirl, and then I'm like, yeah, that's only the wannabe part of me. What's the realistic part of me? You know, it's probably Iron Man or something where it's got to be my way or the highway or one of those ways. And you know, as much as that, you know, you go like this and said, when did I grow my father's finger?
Right.
It's kind of the way I all of a sudden one day woke up and said, gosh, I'm my parent. Yeah. Or I'm that boss I couldn't stand. And so leadership, you know, I'm kind of the driving force, and I equate leadership with the driving force, because and I've shared this expression with you. Jim McCarthy, my old broker from years and years ago, real estate broker, used to say, speed of the leader, speed of the back. Mm-hmm. So if the leader is a strong, or doesn't have to be strong, it can be very caring, but as those characteristics of the leader start to permeate the business, as goes the rest. So we're going to have Tamara Chase on here. You know, when her husband got cancer, basically their entire format of how they made money and why went to the cancer funds, and they tried to find a way, and her husband's been in remission. So it's a beautiful story about how a company has decided, yeah, we need to make a living. We need to provide for our families that are invested in us. But we have a bigger cause than that, and to bring everybody on board. So if you're a leader that is all about money, or if you're a leader that's all about control, or I look at that going, these could be disasters if there isn't like something that says, you know, here's the weight. So if you had that, like that dynamic, so let's say Iron Man runs the company. Okay. With our characters, Iron Man runs the company. How successful can a company be like that? And what kind of offsets does there have to be for that company in order to be successful?
Yeah, you bring a great question. And I think my answer to everything is going to be, it depends. The Iron Man analogy really kind of points to that control, the my way or the highway. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes the visionary actually holds the vision that their way is their way.
We're talking Elon Musk or Steve Jobs.
Right, exactly. So, for example, if they're the person that holds the vision for the technology, and they're so clear on their vision that is the way, there's something about that style of leadership that holds a great deal of validity. And, you know, we can say, oh, well, they're not open to other people's ideas, but they know so strongly that their idea is right. And so that stubbornness that they keep, there's a validity to it because they see in their mind the technology. They know how it's going to work.
So, and I can totally see that. I mean, we have, Steve Jobs. Look at Walt Disney. I mean, they said he was like a dictator, but he had a vision of what he wanted to do with his movies, who he wanted to reach. Look at who hasn't been to Disneyland or Disney World at least once in their life, and kids aspire to it. That was a vision that he had, but he almost went bankrupt a few times. He lost very valuable people as he stumbled through that. How can a small business that has visions like that offset it with people that are, do they hire those people that are better, that juggle the fine? We talked about team building before in another one, but a person who's a visionary or controlling or, that kind of a person, who do they have to surround themselves with to have that equilibrium within the business so it just doesn't go only in one direction?
Well, I think when somebody has a strong vision, like when you take like Walt Disney, for example, the end result occurred. Mm-hmm. We have to respect the fact that the end result occurred. And even though it may have been painful along the way, the painful along the way doesn't necessarily take away from the fact that the end result occurred. And so I think that's an important thing to see, that it's not always going to be fun along the way in getting to the end result. It doesn't have to be a pleasant experience for everybody. And I think that's also one aspect of leadership, is not necessarily bending to everyone's wants and everyone's desires. Everyone wants to feel important. Well, in some ventures, not everyone is going to get those needs met, and we're still going to move forward towards the end result. Now, is that the best way to go into leadership? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not. And again, like as I said, everything depends.
Well, with that, we're going to take our first break. And again, you're listening to the Entrepreneurial Hour with Jane Cabrera of Jane Cabrera Coaching.
The Entrepreneurial Hour with Stephanie Cates and Robert
Latina
Goltz.
International College with a campus in Miramar, Florida, is a boutique college with an applied, cutting-edge holistic education model. Business, tourism, and communication students not only develop their field intellectual skills, but also are empowered to become holistic professionals through yoga, self-empowerment, Tai Chi courses, and more. Sign up to become a holistic professional at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
The Entrepreneurial Hour, shining light on the Tri-Chamber members.
Supporting each other.
So you're back with the Entrepreneurial Hour. My co-host is Chrissy Trotta of Synergy Insurance, and our special guest is Jane Cabrera of Jane Cabrera Coaching. Jane, we're talking about leadership, and isn't it terrible? I think we were all taught in school that the means doesn't justify the method, or what was that?
Yeah, the means doesn't justify the end.
The end, yes. And so, yet today, you just basically counterminded that to say the end was justified by the means to get there. And I guess in business, we look at our president, Donald Trump. I mean, his business practices are well known to be quite ruthless, but he got very prominent in the business world, and, he failed, he went bankrupt, and then he survived again, and he built, so we look at these people that fail and then come back stronger than ever. Chrissy, do you know any stories like that of people who, in your experience with businesses, what have you seen out there?
I feel really to be successful, you need to be a team player. I think you need to work with each other, support each other. Like in our office, everybody helps each other out. We all support each other. You got each other's back. I mean, sometimes you got to go out of your zone or out of your boundaries to make a difference. Honestly, I just think if you help each other out and you care about the customer, and even if, you're not right and you say, I'm not right, this isn't correct. I feel if you make a difference, you could help a lot of other people.
So, Jane, in my opinion, someone has told her team, this is how we're going to be. Our client is going to be first. I work with Claudia and Yamilet from Merchant, the twins, the sisters, and that's their thing. It's a win-win always. Our customers are always right. It's about the customer having the best relationship. If it doesn't work for the customer, it doesn't work for us. But that's not always how businesses are run. But Chrissy, you must have enforced that attitude within your company. Somebody wrote those as the underlying way of leadership. Is that correct?
I would agree. I would agree. And if, that's Chrissy's company and that's the leadership she's bringing, what she's pointing to are the values that she's bringing to the table. And so she's created the company to mirror her values, and it works really well because it works for her. That method works really well. That's the environment that she leads in well. She thrives in that environment, and her connections to her customers work very well in that environment. So she's created that culture in her company. And as I said, like what you'll hear me keep saying over and over again is it depends, because leadership is such an individual thing based on the individual whose company it is. So I love the example, and as you compare it to these other, we can compare Chrissy's company to, say, the Walt Disney My Way or the Highway method. Whose way is better? Well, actually, both work.
Yeah.
Walt's way works for Walt.
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy's way works for Chrissy.
Yeah. And reluctantly, I have to say that Mr. Trump's worked for him too. And his current job, we'll have to see if it still works, because there's a little bit of my way or highway with him too right now.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
for sure.
Not moving political, just trying to making a leadership statement here.
Yes.
But what I do want to say is that is Chrissy, and I'm just using your company model, not you personally, is there always a chance, if you are so in tuned and nice and with your people and your customers, that you can cross that barrier between that professional relationship and a personal one? And how important is it to keep the barrier? Or do you, when you teach leadership, say it's okay to drop your barriers? You can give them your home cell phone number. You can invite them to dinner. You can have them on your Facebook page. What do you say to people that you find maybe just way too personable with their employees, their customers, their vendors?
Yeah, I don't have a hard and fast rule about that. I just recently did a workshop on social self versus professional self, and made a distinction between the two. But the distinction was not about, blending or not blending. I think it's perfectly okay, that if you work in a company environment, that you socialize and have friendship type relationships with people. I also feel, I feel that that's actually part of building trust and can create even, more harmony within your company. But within that, though, I think it is also important to have clear boundaries and standards so that the work environment is the work environment. And I think where it can get squirrely is that if I have this friendship relationship, but now I have to have a hard conversation with you about something that didn't go well or results that are not coming in right, I might feel awkward now about having that conversation. And so I think for me, it's more about having clear agreements with the people that you work with, that work is work, and these are the agreements that we have for performance. And if something's not right, we are going to have a good, honest conversation about that, and that is equally as important a part of our relationship as the fun that we can have outside of the office setting.
What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with what you're saying.
So you think that
business is business and friendship is friendship.
So it's keeping the boundaries.
Absolutely. And you tell them, God forbid something happens. Like, I work nights, I work weekends. I'm always there to help. But keep your friend, and when I want to say, this is not a friendship, we're going to talk to you about business, and you just got to be professional and just, respect each other. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think the importance is, it really is the communication. I think we can have a social and a professional relationship both, as long as we keep the communication really clear. And that's a lot of what I teach and work with my clients on, is how to have those conversations and how to stay in the context of, stay in the context of the situation that you're in, so that you can have really clear communication. And it actually works out better when your communication is clear, your agreements are clear. You tend to have a lot less upsets and, uncomfortable drama. Exactly.
So what I'm hearing, and it makes perfect sense, but I guess then you're saying it's a professional environment, but being personable in a way is fine. But those Friday night, okay, let's all go out and have drinks, might end up potentially opening up the doorway to someone feeling a little bit more chummier, or I can't go because I've got kids. Let me just bring you, do you remember Friends?
The TV show?
The TV show.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel goes and she gets a job in a fashion design place, and I believe she's a purchaser. But she works for somebody, and there's two girls, Rachel and another girl. Mm-hmm. And the woman and the girl go and leave all the time, like every hour or two they leave. And she's like, where the heck are they going? So she follows them. They're going up to the roof to smoke. And that's when all the decisions are being made for the company. And Rachel is a non-smoker, so she wasn't getting to go to Paris. She wasn't able to meet this person. It's like all the decisions were being made up on the roof during a cigarette break.
Right.
So she decides she's going to start smoking. So she says, I need my cigarette too. She goes up on the roof. Well, doesn't this kind of clearly indicate how you have to be careful about that social interaction, going out with drinks with the boys and the girls aren't included, or singling out one or two people because I like them and the other guys I don't really like? I find that I've known companies to go under because of that animosity that gets created by, just like you and I are friends, we go out, but she's not really that close to either one of us, or I don't really like her that much. So you and I go out for drinks or lunch, and she's like, what am I, chopped liver? I can't be disrespected that way. I'm out of here. And next thing you know, the whole place is a mess because of that singling out and making someone feel more special because of an intimate, and I don't mean intimate in that way. I mean a more personable relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
Makes perfect sense. Those things do happen. And, coming back to leadership, I think that's really an important role of the leaders in a company to establish clearly, like, how the communication takes place, where decisions get made. There should be a forum for decisions to be made that is inclusive of all of the people that need to be part of that decision. So the decision on the roof is probably not the best idea, but to your point, these kinds of things do occur. It's human nature. We gravitate towards the people we like, and can be, start to exclude people that we don't necessarily feel as comfortable with. It's human nature. So that does occur.
Do you have anything to comment on that at all?
No, I absolutely agree with her. Like, I feel the same way. Like, if you're talking business or you're working with a partner and you want to go out and have drinks or whatever, I mean, keep it very simple. And, I wouldn't make decisions, drinking or smoking or anything like that. And
wait a minute. I know you can know this. It's not true.
But me personally, like, I like to get everybody involved. I don't like to leave anybody out. I don't like anybody to feel that they're left out or uncomfortable. Like when you walk in a room or I go to a new networking event or something, I try to say hi to everybody. Or if I see somebody standing there not talking to anybody, I'll go talk to them and try to introduce them to somebody else. Or I don't like to make people feel uncomfortable. She's the ambassador of goodwill.
She really is. I mean, you know that by now.
Yes.
I just do. I just have a heart. I just don't like to ever see anybody upset or sad or, not want to go to an event who's an amazing person, can bring a lot more and have a lot to offer. I think people need to get more involved and like not judge by looking at somebody. Like, learn about the person before you talk about the person.
Agree.
So there's a lot of mistakes that can be made by the leader of a business. whether it's the CEO, the CFO, just owner, entrepreneur, whatever label you give yourself. So again, I went to your blog and I loved it. It said, what was it? What did it say here? In many instances, there's no paint by numbers for leadership. So what are the basics someone needs to consider when taking the reins of leadership in their own business? So I know that's going to go longer than the minute we have. So just kind of explain your concept of there's no paint by numbers.
That's it. There's no one size fits all. Each situation is unique. Each business is unique, and each leader is unique. And so I think coming from the perspective of the leader, I think the most important thing is that you're bringing, the values and qualities that most reflect you to the table. That's where your strength is. And so I think if you're aligned with your own values and qualities, things that excite you, it's fun for you to show up every day and work in this manner, then I think you're moving in the direction of your own success, because you're bringing what you're really about as a person to the table.
Well, with that, we'll go ahead and take our next break. Remember the Entrepreneurial Hour Conference, October 25th. Thank you.
The Entrepreneurial Hour, shining light on the Tri-Chamber members.
Unilatina International College with campus in Miramar, Florida, is a boutique college with focus on entrepreneurship. UIC offers associate and bachelor degree programs in business, tourism, and communications and media. Associate degree students develop their business plan while studying at UIC. Dream, learn, and grow. Join now our business incubator. Learn more at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344. Unilatina International College with campus in Miramar, Florida is a boutique college with an applied, cutting-edge holistic education model. Business, tourism, and communication students not only develop their field intellectual skills, but are also empowered to become holistic professionals and human beings through yoga, self-empowerment, holistic human development courses, and more. Sign up to become a holistic professional at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
So, paint by numbers. I love paint by numbers. I love to look at something and say, number 1, do this. Number 2, saute the onions. Number 3, do this. Because at the end, my result will be that my food is going to taste, my picture is going to look like what I envisioned it to be. And when I decide to do it my way, it does not come out the same as the picture, and certainly doesn't taste like, Panera's autumn squash soup that I love so much. I decided to create my own autumn squash, and I was like, "Ooh, this doesn't taste the same." So what does a business owner, a new business, somebody who's thinking about opening a business, an existing business that might be in turmoil or their leadership is not quite where they need to be, what are some of the basics that and I know you consult with this, so I'm not asking you trade secrets, but just, if someone needs really help, they need to call Jane Cabrera Coaching, obviously. But what are some of the things that you tell people immediately they need to start looking at?
One thing immediately is the culture, the communication culture in a company. Chrissy was talking about her culture where, she's all about making a difference and she's all about including everyone. And so there's a general feeling in the company of togetherness that you expressed. If the general feeling in the company is more contentious, that there's more conflict, it's more conflict oriented, more contentious, that is one of the number one things that I would check in with. What's the communication culture that you're experiencing? If it's feeling conflict oriented, contentious in any way, I think the first thing that the first step then would be some honest conversations to find out what's really going on. Why are people feeling negatively about the environment? That's, I think that's the feeling, the emotional feeling of the company, I think, is a very important aspect that I would look at first.
Christy, have you ever worked for corporate America?
Yes.
When you worked for corporate America, did you feel frustrated and like a peon? Like somebody that didn't matter? Because I know I did.
I did, but I never let it get to me.
Okay.
I really did. I just did my own thing and I did the best I could do. And, I used to do a lot of the advertising for the Maroonies and the Auto Nations and all that when Wayne Huizinga bought them and everything. And my customers made me feel good.
Yeah,
so
mine
that made
too.
a huge difference.
Yeah. So I find, and Jane, correct me if I'm wrong, especially marketing, which is what my area of sales, it really needs to be from bottom up. A successful company listens to its customers, finds out what their needs and pains want, and from there communicate that via the sales staff that are selling to those needs and pains. Give them the tools to reach out to those customers, then tell marketing, create the pieces that are going to tie these two together and say, are you experiencing this? Then we've got this. And then find the budget to do this, and then find the direction, and then the entire company based on what was here, what is working for us at the level of sales or whatever, and bring that up. And this is something that corporate America is still not done today. But small businesses like Christy that understands that insurance is the necessary evil, merchant services is a necessary evil. We listen to our customers and we say, if it's not a win-win for you, it's not a win-win for us. And they appreciate that. We have a huge percentage of retainment on our and when they leave, it's because for some reason they're going into a software that has their own proprietary merchant services and they can't use this. Not that they don't want, and they still recommend us. Mm-hmm. And Christy, I've heard people that have gone elsewhere and come back and say, oh, I'm so sorry. I've heard testimonials for her insurance and what she does for them. The question is, you listen to your clients. Talk to me about how leadership needs to be more in tune with the people in the trenches that are actually face to face with and listen to their customers in order to create that leadership environment that'll take them to the places they want to go.
Well, you're pointing to something that's critically important, and that is the listening. Having a culture where leaders are not only dictating or saying, hey, this is what we need to do, but also listening to the employees and really giving the time and the forum for employees to share what their experience is, what's actually going on. When I was in corporate change management, one of the things I know, like a lot of like leaders or managers get frustrated because they say, oh, employees resist change. Anytime we have change coming, employees resist change. But the truth is, the resistance is actually one of the biggest benefits that as a manager you can take advantage of. And when I worked in corporate, I was on the management side. I was actually the leader bringing the change through the organization.
Oh, we hated you.
Right. No, it's
oh,
true.
Here she comes, another meeting.
Except that what I used to do in meetings was when I would have the meeting, I would explain what was coming, and then I would just listen. And I would hear all the feedback. I would hear the complaints. And sometimes they would get mad, and I would let them yell. But in letting them yell, what I heard was what they were dealing with. What I heard was there were some real obstacles. See, their resistance was not resisting me.
Or just for change's sake. I don't want to change. I like it because we all want easier, better, more money, whatever.
Right. Their resistance was pointing to something important that they knew that I didn't, because I didn't work in their area day after day. And so when I just listened to what they had to say, a couple things happened. Number one, I learned a lot. I learned some things that, we might have to adjust. We might have to adjust the date. There might be adjustments I have to make this implementation successful.
Right.
But the other thing that I noticed happen was by giving them the space to complain and yell and just tell me what their resistance was. It also gave them the space to express it. And in the expressing it, 9 times out of 10, they figured out the solution themselves.
Yeah.
I didn't have to come up with it.
Now, when you own a small company, and let's just say it's a husband and wife team, and they have 3 employees, this could be just over a working lunch. So let's get together, and maybe you have a small agenda that says, I'd like to talk about this, this, and this, but should it really be a chance for the employees to say what's working in your opinion, what's not working? And as a leader, be accepting. Chrissy, this is exactly your area. So this is what you do?
I think everybody. I think if you talk to your employee and something's bothering them, it shows, number one, that you care, and it expresses to them, because they may see something that you don't even see. So, if you talk and you communicate, and if you see something's not going on right in the office, or somebody doesn't seem happy, what's wrong? You ask them, and you keep it confidential, and you talk to each other, you communicate. I think that's one of the most successful things in a business is communication. And if you show you care, then they're going to care, and they're going to do a better job.
Jane, one last question before you answer what she said. That communication, how important is it to be done by the leader of the company to the person? Does it show that I care about you as the owner of this company? Or is it okay to send HR to talk to you? Or is it okay to send my assistant to talk to you? Or how important is it for the leader of that pack to actually take on the duty of talking to the person who's upset or has a problem?
I think it's very important for the leader to have the direct communication. And, again, of course, depending on the size of a company, that might not be feasible. If there's 300 of them, you might not be able to have that one-on-one with 300 people. But in a smaller company, I do think it's very important for the leader to open up that chain of communication. And it really goes both ways. It's not only listening to what they have to say, because the person in that job has a perspective that the leader does not have. And so to be interested in that, to be curious, to find out what they know, can actually be a source of very, very helpful information to the leader. And leaders who understand that, there's a real benefit of that. And then on the flip side of it, the leader has an opportunity to communicate from their perspective, which many times the employee doesn't know. And so there's things that are important to the leader that maybe, unless they were clearly communicated, the employee may never have even thought of it that way. So by opening that chain of communication, I think it goes a long way for seeing that different people that are performing different functions within an organization have different perspectives, and those perspectives are very valid, and that there's information both ways that can be useful.
So go ahead. Did you want to ask a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have a question for you. Why do you feel leaders fail? How do you feel they...
There's so many ways that leaders fail. I think the my way or the highway can be problematic. I think leaders that, for example, when I say that, when a leader is trying to, implement an initiative or something like that, and they're feeling the resistance from the employees, when they feel the resistance, I think a lot of times leaders take it personally. They take it more as a personal attack, and because they take it as a personal attack, they may respond with a very negative, maybe dig dig in harder, we're going to do it my way, I'm the leader. And so it can kind of create this wall where communication is not happening. So I think the number one reason that leaders fail is that lack of communication. I do think that softer approach where if there is resistance, hearing it out opens up a door where the leader can have access to information that might be very useful to their success. And if they're taking everything personally, getting angry and digging in deeper into, my way or the highway, I think they cut themselves off from a tremendous amount of information and resources that could have been on their side to help them succeed.
So we've seen some pretty big leadership faux pas in the last 6 months. We saw Facebook being hacked, and Zuckerman has to come on and say, yeah, we had an algorithm that we put out there, and yeah, it was kind of giving your identity to people selling, but we're not going to do that anymore, and people called for him to step down, and I don't think he has. I apologize for not knowing that first, but it was a leadership decision somewhere in his whole peripheral. And I don't think when he started out with Facebook, he thought, yeah, we're going to be giving away people's information and selling this and do that. Elon Musk, same thing now. Legal issues going on. They've told him, you pay this fine, you step down as CEO of your company. Where does someone make that decision that maybe it's time that I go back to what I do great, because I've kind of got my foot in my mouth and I've turned around? I think that a lot of companies go under because the leader says, "This is my company. I'm not letting go. I'm going to hold on that until I choke it." How do you feel about that?
How I feel is that leaders are human beings and that people make mistakes. And even though some of the mistakes are, there may be big mistakes or very big public mistakes, even the leaders in small companies are going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And tripping over yourself does not mean that you're not qualified or capable of being the leader. It just means you tripped over yourself and it's time to brush off and get back up.
And sometimes own up to it. Yeah. Say, I'm not perfect and I'll be listening more. Just that whole thing. It's like, I remember telling listen, there was no book when you were born. As much as I listened to Spock, he wasn't right either. Not the alien Spock. I mean, Dr. Spock. Although the other one might have been better. Anyway, there's no book. And so that's why I said coaching is huge for people who are concerned about their leadership skills, getting into some kind of a plan. And when we come back from our break now, I want to talk to you about how good leaders surround themselves with the kind of people that they need. And I know that you'll be able to help us out on that, Christy. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. Don't forget following us either on our podcast at Unilatina Radio USA or on Unilatina International College channel on YouTube.
The Entrepreneurial Hour is a weekly radio talk show hosted by Stephanie Cates and Robert Gultz that includes local South Florida business owners, subject matter experts, and industry leaders that recognize the need to share their knowledge with other businesses to help them start and grow their business. Join us Tuesday mornings, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, online at Radio Unilatina USA. Follow us on social media at #The Entrepreneurial Hour.
Unilatina International College offers an English as a second language program for international students. UIC's high qualified ESL teachers help students develop and master the English speaking and comprehension skills needed for both work and pleasure. Our ESL program also focuses on cultural adaptation through fun field trips and cultural experiences. Start your journey today at unilatina.edu/ESL or call 954-607-4344.
The Entrepreneurial Hour is sponsored by the Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Weston Florida Chamber of Commerce, and the Pembroke Park West Park Chamber of Commerce.
Well, welcome back. My name is Stephanie Cates, and I am your host of the Entrepreneurial Hour, and my co-host, Miss Chrissy Trotta. Chrissy, you have had a very successful, and I know because I see all the referrals you get. I see all the people that know of your business. Talk to me, and we just kind of talked about it a bit ago, is that as a leader, you realized you couldn't do it all.
Absolutely not. I could not do and go out in the field and meet companies and meet businesses and try to help as many people as possible make a difference if it wasn't for everybody in our Synergy office. The support and all the help, being there all the time. And I call and say, I need this right now, just caring and working together. And if somebody's too busy, I'll ask, are you busy? Do you have time? If not, there's other people. Just supporting each other and helping each other out makes a huge difference. And I always want to help the customer, the business, or, I would love advice. I always ask, how would you do this? How would I do that? I ask you all the time, Stephanie, what would you do? Mm-hmm. What would you say differently? I think teamwork makes a very successful business. I really do. You can't be successful by just being one person.
So Jane, on that note, I'm a sole person. I've already started doing my I don't know, let's say restoration, like mold remediation. I bought a franchise. It's just me right now. My wife is helping me with the books at night, but I'm getting big. I come to you and say, well, I own the company. I want to be a good leader. How do I develop a team? And so talk to me about how you would advise someone who would come to you and say, I need coaching about growing a team to be a successful business. Because we don't want to just make enough money to live. The idea is we want to make enough to actually maybe retire or sell it or whatever.
Right. Because I'm an accountant by background, when I work with businesses, one of the first things I like to look at is the financial results. I find that the balance sheet and the income statement tell a story of the business. And that to me is a very logical and useful way of pointing in the direction of what is it that you want to achieve. And as far as growing a business, how does the leader surround themselves? Again, it's the answer is always going to be it depends. But in that business that you described, perhaps it's sales. Maybe the business owner, you started the company. Maybe a lot about restoration, and so you have operational expertise that you bring to the table, and that your role in that company is more of the operations, and that's what you do best. But what you need now for growth is sales. And so what you need to do is bring in somebody who can help you in the area of sales. And so the coaching or the conversation would be some discussion around what type of sales do you think would be most effective? Is it a salesperson, out knocking on doors? Is it more of a social media effort? And, as we continue to explore and look at that, the way I would coach somebody is something out. You go in a direction, test it out and see how it works. And kind of pointing to the point that you made before, which is sometimes we make mistakes. The thing as a business, as a leader, you need to just be moving in a direction. And if you find that the direction is not the right direction, you just redirect. You just move in another direction.
But you've got to monitor that so you don't go so far in that direction monetarily, workforce, we're just going to implement this whole new thing and just and all of a sudden you've got sunk thousands of dollars into something that's just not working, because then nobody wants to give it up because you've just invested. How do you go back to the spouse and say, yeah, that money I took out of our 401k, well, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
So, I had a question for you as you were talking about the finance and the sales. I hear this a lot. Yeah. So can you talk to my wife? Because she does all of our finance. And I said, oh, is she a CPA or an accountant? No, but, she was home and had nothing to do. I'm like, Okay. So what qualified her to be? And listen, she might be the best person in the world. I'm just saying, when you hire or you're looking into sales or marketing or accounting or logistics, don't you want somebody shouldn't you be looking for someone that has that expertise, that has those characteristics that would bring a value? I'm sure you didn't look for, somebody who was a taxi driver because, they drove in a car when you did insurance. I'm sure you look for a certain quality of people, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And I think, as a business owner, I think there's certain blind spots that, if you're relying on someone just to do the books because they didn't have anything else to do, that might be a blind spot because you might not be looking very closely at that information. If the level of importance that you put into that information is a low level of importance, there might be something there that you're missing. That's absolutely true. And as a business owner, as you start to identify your challenges, if you start to notice, hey, this area might need some more attention, I think it's important that you bring in someone with some expertise in that area that might be able to enlighten you on things that you're not seeing. And it points to that thing, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Right? You don't know what you don't know.
So there has to be not only finding someone that has at least some expertise in the area that you need to fulfill on your team. Mm-hmm. Surround yourself by a team. Don't think you can do everything, because then you've hired a fool for a boss. And, that's me. I sometimes think I'm like Superwoman. That's why I said I would use that character. But at the same time, don't wear blinders.
Yeah.
Don't just because the credit card company hasn't declined your purchase, not know how much money you've got on your credit card, right, how much money's in your bank account. I was one of those people years ago that I just made enough money and I just knew that, once I've spent maybe a grand or so, I ought to slow down because they might say that it's over my limit. But today I'm very much looking at what I do today, what my schedule looks like, because I'm balancing many different things. Mm-hmm. And if I don't have an accurate calendar, if I don't get the support from, you guys, people that I know in the community for business, and at home, my husband and family, I'd be a mess personally. And then trying to put the boundaries that when I'm home, I want to turn off the phone, don't look at the emails, and still struggling with the emails and the texts, but trying to make sure home is home and business is business. And then to respect the time also of the people I work with, not call them because I got a brain idea, let me call them at, 10 o'clock. I had bosses that used to call me at 10 and say, why aren't you picking up? I'm like, it's 10 o'clock at night, So those are the kinds of things that I've Jane, you have been wonderful. We could go on for a long time about this. And I encourage anyone who wants to speak to Jane to give her a call. I know that she's got some events coming up, and I'm going to have her just give everybody how she can be reached. She is a wealth of knowledge about coaching, whether it's personal or in this case, we've been talking about business coaching and leadership skills. So thank you, Jane. Please give your information.
Thank you. So, and I don't have it fully put together yet, but I'm going to be offering a free webinar when I get back in November. Awesome. I'll be out of town for a couple of weeks, but look for a free webinar that I'll be putting out in November. And that's it, Jane at janecabrera.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Miss Chrissy, always a pleasure. You're just a ray of sunshine. She walks in the room and it's like that commercial with, I don't know, Jimmy Dean or something. The sun comes up behind her. So you are always just so pleasant to have. And thank you. Tell our listeners how they can reach you and talk to you about your success and your business.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Chrissy Trotta with Synergy Insurance. I'm available. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but 24/7. I'm always there for you. It's a true story.
She needs some coaching on boundaries.
I will be on the webinar. You can reach me on my cell phone at any time, 954-914-9180. We do write insurance for the whole state of Florida. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, Chrissy. And my name is Stephanie Cates, and I am with Merchant Processing Solutions. If you have any merchant processing needs or just want to consult about what you're doing, please don't hesitate to call. The phone call is free, and that would be 954-616-8048. Marcela, are we taking classes, sign up for Spanish and English classes come the winter semester? On January 7th, Unilatina International College abre sus puertas para las personas que hablan español y quieren aprender el inglés. Or the people who speak English and would love to learn Spanish, they offer those classes here at Unilatina right in Miramar, Florida. So with that, we will be leaving you today, and thank you so much, my guest, Jane Cabrera from Jane Cabrera Coaching, and Miss Chrissy, I always want to add a T to your name, Chrissy Trotta from Synergy Insurance. Marcela, we are out of here. Oh, don't forget. Oh, we're not out of here. The Entrepreneurial Hour Conference next Thursday, October 25th from 8:30 to 3:15 in the afternoon. And it's the future of business. Please, please, please go to the website and get your tickets or call up and find out about sponsorship packages.
We could have